After warnings, ultimatums, and even a death threat by Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Donald Trump, Iran's supreme leader has spoken, and he has said that he will never surrender. Ayatollah Khamenei was responding to US President's call for an unconditional surrender. While addressing the people of Iran from his secret hideout, Iran's supreme leader said that Tehran will never surrender. And countering the threats given to him by Netanyahu and Trump, Ayatollah warned the United States of irreparable damage if it intervenes in the Israel-Iran conflict. President Trump had given a veiled threat that the United States and Israel know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. Today, the exiled crown prince of Iran declared that Khamenei's Islamic Republic is collapsing, and he urged citizens and soldiers alike to rise up against the regime. Reza Pahlavi, who is the son of the last Shah to rule before Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution, has long been a prominent critic of Khamenei, and today he gave a call that he wants to replace Iran's clerical rule with a national and democratic government. Pahlavi, in fact, took to social media to issue a rallying cry. Let's listen in to what the Iranian prince in exile said.
جمهوری اسلامی به پایان خود رسیده و در حال سقوط است. خامنه‌ای همچون موشی هراسان زیر زمین پنهان شده و کنترل اوضاع را از دست داده است. آنچه آغاز شده برگشت ناپذیر است. آینده روشن است و ما با هم از این پیچ تند تاریخ عبور خواهیم کرد. در این روزهای دشوار دل من با همه شهروندان بی‌دفاعی است که آسیب دیدند و قربانی جنگ طلبی و توهمات خامنه‌ای شدند. من سالها کوشیدم تا میهنمان گرفتار آتش جنگ نشود. پایان جمهوری اسلامی، پایان جنگ 46 ساله آن با ملت ایران است.
Ghazali is joining us. Ghazali, this conflict has only widened, and it appears that the end game of US and Israel is of some kind of regime change. And given the statement which has come in from the Iranian prince in exile, is it all heading in that direction?
Oh, yes, certainly, because Mr. Netanyahu also ended up saying it. Mr. Trump has already indicated, saying that Mr. Khamenei or the Iranian leadership should come to the negotiating table, else there would be no one to negotiate. In a sense, hinting that there would be regime change, or this entire operation is aimed at toppling Mr. Khamenei and his government there. But we have seen in the past that how America's or US's this entire project of regime change has spilled more blood. It has created more violence. Iraq and the birth of ISIS is a clear example. But this time around, a clear face like Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince or the exiled prince, is there. But we'll have to see that whether he will be accepted by the Iranian people or not, because the kind of attacks which have been carried out by Israel in Iran will certainly create more hatred for Israel and US in the Iranian public. And despite having limited options with Mr. Khamenei, coming out today in a televised address, at least he has sent out a message to his domestic audience that Iran is not taking anything lying down without fighting it out against both the governments of US and Israel.
All right, Ghazali, I appreciate your time. Let me bring in James Borden, who is an Arab and Middle East expert. We also have David Johnson, journalist and author. It's a developing situation here, David. US President Donald Trump talking about political assassination of a supreme leader of another country. I mean, this is never seen before in the world history.
No, and it's a very, very unwise policy because it invites retaliation on the same scale. And in fact, US law explicitly prohibits anyone, including the president, from threatening to assassinate a foreign leader. So this is astonishing, but it goes to the fact that Donald Trump has no idea what he's doing. He's in way, way over his head. And he's convinced himself, and I've known Donald for almost 40 years. I spent hundreds of hours with him. He's convinced himself that he has these magical powers. He can get foreign heads of state to bow their knee to him, to say thank you for things that would be terrible for their countries, and that he can end wars in a day or with one phone call. And it's all nonsense, but so long as Donald remains in the White House, he will continue to operate this way.
And James, particularly this, the Iranian prince in exile giving that call, it's almost like a clarion call, which is happening to the people, telling the military there that they should be, they should rise up against Ayatollah Khamenei. Do you think that will lead to some kind of mobilization?
Well, we know that Iran already has a large number of insurgent groups. In fact, they have their own little version of the rebel alliance called the MEK because they have so many that they seek to coordinate with each other. And so this step of eliminating the leadership of the national leadership, and I'm led to understand that Israel actually targeted and brought down the building in which they had their internal security building. And so in a lot of ways, this will open up a huge can of worms for the countries on Iran's borders. They could see increased problems with these insurgent groups bleeding over into the neighboring states.
Okay, a little more thought on this, James. Do you see this conflict widening?
I don't know if I see it widening. It still seems to be very well contained. We have not seen any other countries get involved. And really, again, larger expansion would, I think, have to come at the expense of the Israelis. Now, that could happen. We know that the GCC nations do not want to see Israel likely take out a head of state, and they don't want Iran to be overly destabilized. So if they take that step, if Iran does descend quickly into large amounts of chaos, you could see the nations around them, around Israel, engage in more steps. Now, whether that would initially spring towards a military conflict, I'm not quite so sure, but it could over the long term. So short term, no. Long term, very possible.
David Kay and James, thank you so much for joining us. Iranian military assets have been pounded as Israeli strikes sites across Iran. Satellite images, which have been accessed by NDTV, reveal extent of damage on the Iranian side. Here's a quick analysis by Vishal and Arjun. I'm leaving you with this. Thanks so much for watching.
Well, we break down the before and after and why these sites exactly matter now more than they have ever before, starting with the Tabriz missile facility. Over to you, Vishal.
Well, these images that we have accessed through NDTV's medium, these are images done by the Maxar Technology Space Company. You can see the damage done on the bottom of the screen. 3 facilities have been totally wiped out. Here also you can see a big facility on the outer edge of the whole setup has been wiped out, and this is how it's been going on, and Arjun will explain the rest.
Well, Vishal, why this facility is important to Iran? Well, it's important because it's a key missile research and production hub, viewers. It's located in the northwest part of Iran. It also houses missiles like the Shahzad 1, Shahzad 2 and Shahzad 3. Moving on.
So now we have the Mashhad airfield. This is one of the key airfields that Iran has in its possession. On the left, you can see one of the aircraft just standing there. And on the right, you can see the same aircraft that's been totally demolished. You can see the tail of the aircraft right at the bottom of the screen. So this is how they demolished one of the key airfields of Iran.
Very importantly, viewers, Mashhad is Iran's second largest airport when it comes to traffic. As you see on your screens here, it's also a vital component of the Iranian Air Force. It's a significant military and logistics hub, often used for the refueling of Iranian air defense assets. And also, very importantly, Israeli Air Force has claimed that they've struck it 2,300 kilometers away. It's the longest strike in Israeli Air Force's history till now, as they're claiming. Back to you, Vishal.
So what we have now is the Dezful air base that was also attacked. You can see these are some of the UAVs, that unmanned aerial vehicles. And to support those UAVs, these are the fighter aircrafts. And back to the UAVs, these were demolished, and these aircraft were there to protect them. But they were not able to do that. And Arjun will explain how it went down.
As my colleague Vishal was showing you these images of military asset circled right there. So the Dezful base is near Iraq's border, and it's very pivotal when it comes to defending Iranian oil fields and refineries. It also, very importantly, it houses the 4th Tactical Air Base, which is crucial to Iran's air defense, being at the westernmost front. So this is the first line of defense when it comes to tackling the Israeli air threat. Back to you, Vishal.
What we have now to show you guys is the Natanz facility. This is the main enrichment facility that the nuclear program of Iran has. You can see on top of your right screen, the two main outer compounds have been totally demolished. On the left, you have the structure that was left almost unscathed. So this is how they went through the operation. Probably some F-35 aircraft was used to demolish this aircraft, and Arjun will explain why this facility is important.
Well, the Natanz facility, as we know, is pivotal, Vishal, to Iran's nuclear program. And this was the very facility, in fact, I'll tell you, which was the center of the flashpoint back in 2018, when Trump, in his first administration, withdrew from the nuclear deal. It also houses centrifuges, more than 50,000 centrifuges. Right there, you have it on your screens. These are purportedly in the two underground silos. The information we have till now, the IAEA says that 4 overhead structures were in fact struck by Iran. Now, Vishal, the message behind these craters is clear. It's a mix of precision, pressure, and a signal, in fact, that reverberates far beyond Iran's borders.
And Arjun, as the dust settles, the world watches what comes next. Because in this region, every strike redraws the balance.